I should warn ya, you're in close corner. I should warn ya, you're in close corner. Ow. It's very clear our love is here to stay. I literally had a very deep and detailed dream about singing that song with the cast of Insecure last night. So, welcome to the next edition of Glow's Corner. Glow's Corner, I'm taking it back with a throwback. The original Glow's Corner was me in this chair reviewing two books. So today I will be doing the same, reviewing two books. And just to be clear, it's not reviewing as in I'm saying this book is bad or this book is good. I'm going to tell you about my experience with these two books. So I'm excited. I love to read. As I said in the very first Glow's Corner. But sometimes, lately with the technology and, reading has been a little more of a challenge. I've been leaning a lot more on audiobooks. I still love to listen to like lectures and speeches and stuff like that. So I'm reading less than I normally do. I'm finding myself getting through like 2 pages and like nodding off. So that's why I've been reading less, but nonetheless, I am always reading. So there's always a book that something is happening with it. And I had to do my Glow's Corner because I finally finished this book and it has been such a challenge. And I was like, when I finish this book, I'm going to do a Glow's Corner about it. And this book is called Melanin. This is the first one that we're reviewing. Melanin, A Key to Freedom by Dr. Richard King. Dr. Richard King. Not that Dr. King, the other Dr. King. And Dr. Richard King was one of the afromost. Did I say that right? It sounds good. Just let's rock with it. He was one of the afromost master teachers, is what I would call him, on the study of melanin, I want to say the element of melanin, but about melanin in general. So of that school, when I call it the school of the Hotep, before it was demonized to be woke and Hotep. and I started in that school to me. Learning about through Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Phil Valentine, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, like everyone, people of those school, that generation. Bobby Hemmett, my favorite, one of my favorites all the time. A lot of the talk and what we know and what we speak of melanin today comes from that. And Dr. Richard King is one of the leaders, one of the originators of introducing melanin to the culture and its importance of, to humanity, not just to original people, but to humanity as a whole. So this book, over a year. This book is like 205 pages. Only 105 of it is book, right? The other last half of the book is just glossary. It still took me over a year to read. And let me just be clear, like once again I said that this is my experience with the book. So it's not a formal review or saying it's good or bad. It's just my experience with the book. I read and process a little differently, maybe than you do. I know I do. We all do. So there's no disrespect or no malice. Saying you setting up for some ill shit. But no, this is I just had a very challenged experience with this book, and I was very eager to read it because I actually have personal experience with Dr. Richard King. Hotep flex, I shade to the ancestor, but I used to build with him and some other of my good people, including Chuck and Lanisha. I just said, some of my folks, we used to build, have a conference call. This is like pre-Zoom. We used to be on the calls on Sundays. Dr. Richard King and a lot of other just minds, just exchanging energy and information. He wasn't even like digging into no deep scholarly things. I think he was really just enjoying connecting with some of the youth or some younger minded, expansive minds. You see how I complimented myself and everybody else at the same time? It's a gift. It really is. So, having that exchange and connection, and then after he transitioned, I always used to knew that I had to read this book, that it was important that I read this book, and especially just for how much I talk about melanin and we talk about melanin as a people. Like I said, no exaggeration, as one of the originators of the subject, or bringing it to the culture, I just thought that it was just like imperative that I get to this book. That being said, this book was a challenge to me because Dr. Richard King speaks metaphysically and scientifically, pardon me. And I don't know if people can say, oh, that's not too much of a difference, but there's no like distinction, like he just weaves it together. So when he's talking about like the Kemetic pantheon, or just talking about metaphysics and folklore, that's what, like better words, and then he might use like some scientific terms and scientific jargon. It was just a little hard to like decipher, okay, what's happening now. And also another thing that he does is in every chapter he quotes, he's quoting George James' Stolen Legacy. And the intro of every chapter, even though it's short, is quoting Stolen Legacy. And a lot of the quotes are like repetitive, so they're like the same thing. And you're like, Dad, this you're giving me reasons why this book should be easy. I know it should have been easy. I don't know why it was such a challenge for me, but those quotes were a challenge. And also, I think the biggest challenge for me was just the way that he cited his work. And to me, it was cited in a way that it was hard for me to be clear of when is this a citing? You're citing your reference where you got this information from, or is this part of the passage? So that's what made the information or the book extra challenging for me to read. I can't front, like I told you, over a year, well over a year. I read about 2 or 3 books in the middle of this book. I had to keep coming back to it, and I just finished it like last night. So I think that was the extra challenge. There were parts and there were paragraphs that or chapters that were a little more easy, a little more fluid for me, and then there were ones that just were like really difficult and challenging for me, and made me feel like I'm not smart. I thought I was smart, but I'm not smart as I thought. What I will say, and for me, I think this what brought this book to summarize it. The thing that I read that made me had the greatest understanding of melanin was towards the end, when he was comparing melanin to chlorophyll. And I'm sure we've heard that before. But basically, it's like melanin is a carrier of light photons that create a chemical, or that through a chemical change turn into fuel that initiates some of the body's most critical processes related to vision, sight, smell, just so much of our bodily functions are fueled by melanin. And that also extends to the functions of space, the ethers, black holes, and things of that nature. Like, it is literally everywhere. It is a transport. It's a device. It's a carrier of the fuel that like initiates everything to say, go, okay, go. So that passage for me, and that was at the end, I was like, oh. But through it all, honestly, what I would say is that be prepared to read this with a fine-tooth comb. If you are a researcher, I think this is a good book for you to read. Be patient with yourself if you're reading this, and take your time. Take your time, because it's definitely going to require you to be really engaged and connected. You can't like just read it in passage and think that you're going to get the benefits of it. In all honesty, I probably need to read it again, but I'm scared. But maybe it'll be easier the second time around. Like I said, sometimes or most times it's very helpful to do this with other people, because you can build on it and pull out things that you may have missed. So that's that book, Melanin, A Key to Freedom. Anytime there's a key, that means there's something that's being unlocked. So I'm going to encourage you to get a key. You can't have too many of those and walk around like mental janitors. You know what I'm saying? Ching-a-ling. I don't know if you got it. All right. So the next book that I read, I wanted to review this for a while. Sista, Souljah, Life After Death. You see the diversity of what's happening in my reading. Sista, Souljah. It's my queen, yo. I've read all of Sista Souljah's books except No Disrespect, which is her only nonfiction book. So that's the only book of hers that I've read. So I've read all of the books in this series. These are all relative to The Coldest Winter Ever. This is the follow-up for the Winter Santiago story. All of her other books were chronicling the people on Winter's life. So there's the Midnight series, which is her love interest. So he got about 3 books. Then there's about a book or 2 about her sister. And then there's this book. So this is her after, and I don't know if you read The Coldest Winter Ever, but basically this is Winter's story 15 years after that book and following her life path. And I will say that, you know, it's sort of like, I was talking to somebody today about sequels and how they rarely live up, but it's really difficult to have a great sequel, especially so many years later. This may be over 15 years after the original book was written, so it's almost literally 15 years after the book, maybe more. But I have to say that this was a great sequel. It caught me off guard because it had a little esoteric. It had a lot of esoteric aspects to it, and spiritual aspects, and maybe a little. Well, I'll say spiritual more so than religious. A little fantasy. And you know, Sister Souljah and specifically the character Winter Santiago, she's very like hood, you know what I'm saying? She just like the hood chick, the shorty from the block that was into some things, and the way she think and the way she speaks is so different than what you get from Sister Souljah. So for me, a lot of times when I'm reading Winter, I'm like, this girl is annoying. But I'm even amazed at how Sister Souljah can write these characters, because even her Midnight character, I think she does one of the best jobs that a woman can do, or up there, between her and maybe Issa Rae, at writing male characters. Sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch where it's like, okay, I know this is a woman writing as a man, but I think she does a great job writing male characters. Just writing in general. And I think the Winter character has a lot of masculine energy, because she worshiped her father. So I think that everything that she does is sort of motivated by the hood lessons that she got from her father. So she taking these hood lessons to this sort of esoteric, it's life after death. So this esoteric place, and it's interesting, and it is ill, and it has a lot of elements that will make you even question your current existence, which is not what I expected, because The Coldest Winter Ever was such a grounded book and like reality based, and this is what it's like to be a trap princess. You know what I'm saying? That's what The Coldest Winter, she was a trap princess. You know what I'm saying? So this is what happens when the trap princess grows up and dealing with the repercussions of having that mentality as an older woman. She probably younger than me. Older woman. Okay, whatever. I love Sister Souljah's writing. I love her writing style. I compare her to, I know you have to compare, I compare her to like Donald Goines or Iceberg Slim. Iceberg Slim is one of my favorite like hood writers, because I think he has a poetic quality to his writing. I don't know if her writing is as poetic as Iceberg to me, but it is engaging. You know, this was an easy read. And the opposed to that, I did this in about a week or less. You know what I'm saying? That book was a year. This book, which is a lot thicker and there's no glossary, was a week. And the storyline keeps going. Sometimes it's a little bit, it's fantastical and a little bit out there and a little bit like, okay, all right, this is weird. There are moments in this book that I can't front that's just straight weird, but it was never like I'm done with it. It was always like I'm still engaged. And I love a story about transformation as well, and seeing characters transform and having to address some of the shit that they did in the past. So I definitely encourage you to read this. I encourage you to read all of the series. If you haven't read The Coldest Winter Ever, no matter what age you are, it's an amazing read. But truth be told, I love all the books in her series. No disrespect, is the last one that I have to read. But this right here, yeah, this is in circulation. I mean, real talk, I'm feeling generous. If somebody want this book and they want to pay the shipping fees, I'll send it to you. I don't see me going back to reading it. Not that it's not good enough to go back to read, but I would love, like, once again, I like to talk about the stuff that I read. So I would love to hear what someone else thinks about it. And I would love to discuss it in a little more depth, because it's really very layered, and it really just makes you consider our current existence. That's all I can say. I'm trying to say as much as I can without giving spoilers, just in case you do read it. But that's it. That's my original Glows Corner throwback. Ooh, throw black. Ew. Black, stay black, Melanin, the key to freedom, and Sister Souljah, life after death. So we talking about the key to freedom, and we talking about life after. These gotta relate somehow, right? You see this? The key, they got the Ankh, that's the key of life. Life after, I don't know. I'm trying to make fetch happen with this, but yo, check this out. If y'all got any questions, y'all want to build more on this, come through, check me. It's your girl, Glow Shines. Make sure you follow me on all platforms and music and all that. If you got questions, you know how to hit me. One. Blah. I should warn ya, you're in Glow's corner. I should warn ya, you're in Glow's corner.